Okay, we are back for attempt 2 at live streaming for today. So we will see if this actually makes a difference in folks showing up. And if it doesn't, then I can say at least I tried. And, ooh, there was someone riding a bike outside my window. I just happened to see that at the corner of my eye. Yes, Yubi, you definitely get to annoy me. And you before I even started talking for a minute, so that's great timing. What's been your epic news for the day? My epic news for the day is that let's see, not much happened today, actually. I'm just glad that I was able to sleep in, really, because yesterday I woke up a little bit early so that I could get in some exercise. And today I was just like, I'm just going to sleep into whenever. And then I've had the house to myself all day, and so that's been cool. National Cheesecake Day. Thanks for reminding me about that, because I usually don't have cheesecake. I used to get really bad allergic reactions to it, and now I think my digestive system has gotten a little bit better, so I could probably try some more cheesecake. I know sometimes I have like cheesecake flavored stuff, and that usually tastes pretty good. Also, Yubi, I don't think I've heard your thoughts on the Mario Kart 8 DLC coming out. Or are you not much of a Mario Kart player? I'd love to hear like what tracks you're excited about. So I don't know if I think you must have missed the first live stream attempt I did, but this originally was talking about my excitement for the vacation. So I will be leaving from August 3rd to 7th. I will be, well, I better not say where I'm traveling to. That might be a bit of an intrusion of privacy. Oh, yeah, that's right. You did say that. Yes, that's right. You did say that. I remember. Well, what do you think about the current track selection? Were there any that you said, yeah, that's cool? Or are you just like, until they bring Banshee Boardwalk back, I'm not going to be satisfied? As for me, I wouldn't say any excited me, but there were a few nostalgia choices that I thought were cool. Like, I was glad that Mushroom Gorge is coming back. I really liked Calamari Desert and Waluigi Pinball. Those are all pretty neat stages. None that I was like, oh my gosh, it's here kind of thing. I think I would probably have that kind of reaction if they brought back one of the Woohoo Island tracks from Mario Kart 7. I mean, at this point, I just want to see Nintendo try harder to make it fit with the established graphic style of Mario Kart 8. Like, and I'm not the first person to say this online, but when I first saw Sky High Sunday, I thought to myself, is Mario crossing over with Fall Guys? Because this just looks so out of place. Yeah, the desert track was so much fun on the Nintendo 64. Like, my dad, whenever he lost the race, he would always drive through the train tunnel as, like, his way of punishing himself. The desert track was probably the most graphically optimized, but that's not saying much because it's a desert, and in the desert, everything is dead to begin with. So they probably figured, hey, we don't have to do a whole lot of work on the textures because it's a desert. It doesn't excuse that bone dry desert in regular Mario Kart 8 looked way better. Yeah, well, we'll have to see if you all can create new mini games in this new thing. I remember it used to be like this really cool. How do I word this? It used to be really cool seeing the computer opponents stop for the train, and then I would like speed up right as soon as the train stopped, whereas the computer players took their sweet time to accelerate. So I guess that was just a flaw in N64 programming. I also think, if I'm doing the math correctly, this is the third time Calamari Desert has been remade, because it was also in Mario Kart 7. Yo, hey there. Do you have a nickname? Because I don't really feel like saying that first part. That's a bit something that the Catholic Church doesn't approve of. So if you could give me a cool nickname, that would be really great. But welcome in. Do you know? Oh, 99 is the nickname? Oh, like Tetris 99? That's actually kind of cool. I am doing great. I'm really excited for my upcoming vacation, which is, let's see, today is the 30th, so About 4 days from now. Yeah. I'm going to be traveling on a 15-hour ride, and yeah, that's a good nickname. It's what you say before love that I have a little bit of issue with. The Catholic Church is says that that's a big no-no. Unless you meant to say pom, which in that case that would be fine, because poms are just pom poms. Also, I'm relatively excited about the new Mario Kart 8 DLC tracks. Those are pretty neat. I wouldn't say I'm like over the moon excited, but it is something to look forward to when I get back from vacation. What about yourself? What's been going on in your life? So, have you guys heard that I anyone really. If I ask a question to one person, you all can respond to it, I suppose. Did any of you hear that I got a new Patreon? I know you did, Yubi. 99, did you hear about that? Yeah, I'm not the best at advertising, guys, so maybe I didn't do a good enough job making my introduction video, but basically I decided to start up a Patreon because I'm kind of struggling a little bit financially, and I figured, you know what, maybe I can give people a reason to want to help besides just begging for money or something like that, so then I can like give a little bit back. So if you feel like joining it, just let me know and I'll pop a link in the chat. A lot of TV. What kind of stuff do you watch? I don't really watch much TV. I'm more of a video game nerd. Usually, if I do watch TV, it's when my sister is around. So I usually have her just say like, "Yeah, I probably don't want to know." That's true. But yeah, my sister and I we usually watch the Marvel stuff, and sometimes we watch the Star Wars stuff. Like we watched a little bit of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We watched a little bit of The Mandalorian. She watched way more of it than I did. But I don't really like watching TV without her. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I don't generally look for things to watch on TV. Maybe it's because back when I was a kid, like I didn't have as much video games as I do now, so sometimes I'd like flip through the channels and ended up watching some really stupid cartoons. And nowadays I'm a little bit more selective about what I watch because I don't want to end up watching something that'll end up to be a total disaster. Oh, wow. Chapter 2 of the book you're reading, Yubi, or chapter 2 of the book that you're writing? Because I think, didn't you say you were writing a book? Oh, yeah, that's right. I actually forgot what shirt I was wearing for a minute there, Yubi. Yeah, this is, I believe this particular artwork is from the Minish Cap, which is one of the few handheld Zelda games that I really like. Yeah, I really do like the Zelda series. I don't like every Zelda game. Like, there are a few that I really hate, but Breath of the Wild is my favorite video game, so obviously I like some things about Zelda. Let's see, what would be the Zelda games I don't like? I don't really like the two Oracle games. A Link to the Past is Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 on NES are just awful. They really have not aged very well. Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks are both pretty terrible. Admittedly, I didn't get very far in Spirit Tracks, but Phantom Hourglass I got halfway through before I gave up. Four Swords Anniversary Edition was pretty terrible. Um, Skyward Sword, I have a love-hate relationship with. I think I more so love it than hate it, but there are certainly parts of it where I think Skyward Sword HD should have been a full-blown Final Fantasy VII Remake treatment. Yeah, I'm glad you like a Zelda game, Yubi. Do you like Majora's Mask because of the story, or do you like the time loop, or like what are some of the best elements of that game that make you like it and not like the other Zelda games? I think I actually have. Yes, I still do. I have it right here. I actually have this old watch that's based on Majora's Mask. It doesn't work anymore, sadly, but I showed my love of it. I think I got that around the same time as Majora's Mask 3D came out. I actually have Majora's Mask 3D. I just am not able to play it right now because my friend borrowed it, and then when he was about to give it back to me, then he forgot where he put it. Well, there's actually quite a few Zelda games where you can play songs. Like Ocarina of Time, you can play the ocarina. Wind Waker has the Wind Waker where you conduct songs. Twilight Princess has wolf howling. Spirit Tracks has the pan flute. Link's Awakening technically has an ocarina, but you don't actually play the notes on it. You just select a song and play things. So, yeah, music is a big part of the Zelda series. I'm surprised you don't play any instruments in Breath of the Wild. Maybe bring that back in Breath of the Wild 2. That'd be a pretty cool innovation. I think for me, what I really like about Majora's Mask is I like the transformation masks. I love being able to turn Link into different creatures. I also really like the story. There's not much of it, but like it's cool to see a Zelda game that's a little bit more depressing. I don't know. I've always had that kind of a morbid fascination with depressing stuff ever since I was in depression. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, as long as you get it to me by the end of the year, that's fine. Probably like end of November at the latest, just that I have time. But yeah, if you need to take some time off, that's totally fine. Hello there, Jevil. Welcome in. Hope you've been having a great day. Knowing you, you'll you'll probably tell me how you're doing whether I ask or not. So let's hear it. As for me, I'm just, well, as I've said a couple of times on the Discord, I'm excited about my vacation. I will be, I will actually still be on vacation when the Mario Kart DLC comes out. So you guys will have to spoil it for me, I guess, because there's no escaping Discord or the internet. And not much else, really. That's the big thing. I'm going to probably be putting up my Three Hopes review pretty soon, assuming that my art commission doesn't go through. And no, it's not by Sploon. I would have commissioned Sploon, but she's already doing the artwork for my Best Games of 2022 list. So hopefully I'm able to finalize that list pretty soon because it seems like 2022 is kind of like, since they didn't do an E3 this year, I feel like there's not going to be a lot of great games coming up unless Nintendo decides to do a late E3. Like maybe they do an August or September direct that has like a whopping Cadence of Hyrule 2 or something like that. But I'm not really expecting a whole lot of masterpieces. Oh, that's cool, Yubi. What kind of thing are you having her draw? Oh, you're still recovering from your sickness. Well, hey, at least you're only in the 5% range, so that's good. It means you've probably been improving and resting up. Hopefully, you've been eating something healthy because I've heard that like a good diet helps speed you along in recovery. So glad that you're getting better. It seems like you've been sick for a long time. Like, you must have a really sorry immune system. Yeah, tea is really good for when you're sick. Oh, cool. Looking forward to it, Yubi. Oh man, this is, I love seeing Sploon's artwork. So it's great that you told me that because I love seeing what she makes. Admittedly, I have some choice words about a few things she drew, but I'm not going to blame her. I'm just going to say, like, what were you guys thinking with some of those? Oh, well. Ah, well, hey, if you're able to do something when you're sick, then that's pretty good. I know back when I first got COVID, it did feel really hard to do anything. Yeah, I would say her art is very, very good. Like even if I don't or even if I don't approve of what she drew, I think the artistic quality is good. Hello there, Matthew. Glad you could join us. I did Blue Lions, which was the first route I did in the original Three Houses. I am going to be doing Golden Deer next. I think I've gotten to chapter 4 of Golden Deer, and I have not had too much motivation to play it more, unfortunately, because I kind of feel like it's hard to explain, but it kind of feels like it forces a lot of grinding. Whereas in Three Houses, it it's really hard to explain, but Three Houses gave you more freedom in what you could do, whereas I feel like this game like penalizes you if you don't do everything that it tells you to do. And I think that forcefulness makes me like it less than Three Houses. Not to say it's not a good game. It's a very good game. It's just that I feel like maybe if they got rid of the war map and just let you go from chapter to chapter, and after you were done at the camp getting all the supports, and you didn't have to do all the side missions, then I'd probably like it more. But I'm a diehard fan of every Nintendo Warriors game that's been released to date, so it's proven to be pretty satisfactory in that regard. Probably, almost definitely going to be on my list of best games of the year. What route did you choose? Who's Kodo? Kudo? Oh, knowing you, Yubi, you have so many streamer friends. You're like a magnet for all these people that you know. It's amazing how far along you. How do I word this? It's amazing how many people you're able to meet. Like, I feel like for me, I was able to meet a lot of cool people through like mission trips and conferences. And after that was all over, it was pretty much through Pegasus. Like, if it wasn't for Pegasus, I would never have met Peggle, and by extension, never met any of you. Ah, you're playing all the games that are not on the Switch. Of course you would, Jeff. Okay, so it seems like you're one of those Golden Deer fans then. You know, the funny thing about Golden Deer is that I really liked it in Three Houses, but I also have a thing for the color blue, and Annette is my favorite character in that game, so I always like doing Blue Lions, one, for nostalgia, two, for the blue, three, because I like how the Blue Lions prioritize being courteous, except for Felix. And I also just like Dimitri as a character. He has more complexity. Like, I feel like Edelgard and Claude have their moments, but, like, I feel like you know, like, so much of them at the beginning of the game, and then like the halfway point comes and then you learn more about them and then they like stay like that, whereas Dimitri, it feels like a steady uphill increase in his mindset and how he sees the world. I'm trying not to spoil stuff. Like, if I was allowed to spoil stuff, I'd be more specific, but I think Dimitri is the most interesting to watch him grow. Golden Deer had the coolest reveals. I'm talking about Three Houses here, by the way. I've only done Blue Lions all the way through and Three Hopes. Blue Lions had the best character development. Golden Deer probably had the best plot reveals. And Black Eagles just had the coolest, like, wowza moments. Like, it had cool set pieces. Oh, Jubble. Yeah, I am very excited for chapters 3, 4, and 5 to come. I I'm pretty sure I got Undertale when it first came out on the Switch. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember being very, very excited about it when it was announced because my friend Nick kept trying to get me into Undertale for so long, and I kept putting it off because I was afraid that, well, for one, I didn't have a Steam account, and for two, I was afraid that it would slow down my computer. And then when it came on the Switch, then I loved it so much that I ended up loving it even more than he did. And then he would just be like, dude, even I don't have the dedication like that. And that's pretty much exactly how he talks, too. So that was just me unintentionally mimicking him. As far as games I'm excited for coming out that are confirmed to have like release dates and all of that, I'm really excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I've got my rental coming in the mail. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Looking forward to that. There's one more that was coming. Splatoon 3, I guess I'm marginally excited about. If only for the fact that it'll stop all of these streamers like Pegasus and Peggle from playing the same old maps and the same old music, that I'll be able to get some scenic variety. Purgatory. Okay, so Purgatory, what that is so first let me explain how the Protestants view the afterlife. So the Protestants believe that throughout your life, you either make good decisions or bad decisions. In some very strict sects of Protestantism, they believe in what's called predestination, which means you're either destined for heaven or hell, and it all depends on if you profess your love of Jesus or not. And then at the end of time, you'll either go to heaven or to hell. Hell being for the people who rejected God, and heaven being for his followers. In the Catholic Church, we believe in what's called particular judgment, which means that after we die, every single person, regardless of whether they were good or evil, will get to see God or St. Peter, one of the two. And God will basically like go through a checklist of like, okay, you've done all these actions and you've done the sacraments and all of that. And so if the person is righteous and is worthy of heaven, then God will say, okay, cool, you're able to have eternal salvation, but you can't get into heaven if you still have sin in your soul, if it's like a minor sin, otherwise known as a venial sin. So say you did most of your life being as good as possible, but you forgot to confess that you stole a candy bar from the store. God will say, okay, I am going to purify you by getting rid of the candy bar sin from your soul and removing the desire to sin again. So, in other words, purgatory is cleaning up the remaining sins, and it's also removing our desire to sin again. So, I guess you could say it's kind of like a train station. Does that help? Hey, JP, glad you could make it. Glad the rest of the gang are still around. JP, did you hear about my new Patreon page? I don't want to beg anyone to support it if they don't have the money, but I just thought you'd be happy to know that I'm planning on doing some bonus material if folks are willing to help me out a little bit. So if that's something that you'd like to see, I can put a link in the chat. Yes, actually, we do believe that heaven is another dimension. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that we know for sure about heaven because, again, it's so much more than what we are able to comprehend. Yeah, that's understandable. If only you could have a Patreon, JP, that'd be really cool. Well, Yubi, it's thankfully God is extremely merciful, and we in the Catholic Church, we believe that God wants to forgive us more than we want to be forgiven. We also, I don't know if we believe it hardcore, but there's this theory that God is even able to reach out to the most hardened atheist and bring him or her to heaven if that atheist has the desire to like do the right thing and to serve God. Maybe the person never had a formal education of the faith. Maybe what the person was told about the faith. Maybe they just didn't have the proper education, and for all we know, God could give that person education. Knowing you, Yubi, I'm guessing you would probably be set for heaven. You don't seem like the type of person who would be very malicious or evil, but I can't judge. Only God can judge. Well, Jevel, none of our religious beliefs are based on video games. What do you not like about Patreon, Jevel? Have you ever supported someone on Patreon before? Yeah, I think if God considers me full of grace enough to be worthy of heaven, then I think the biggest thing for me would I'd like to see my family because I have 6 miscarried siblings. So I'd really like to meet them. especially because I really love my three living siblings. Like, they're all so amazing. But wouldn't it have been cool if I had nine people in my family instead of just four? And I'd also like to see my grandparents again, which there they are right there. So I'd like to see them again. Hey, Kat, glad you could make it. This was your day off, right? So that's why. Did you just get off of work, or is today your day off? Because I don't know how to accommodate to literally everyone's schedules, but I'm really glad you could make it. Um, so Kat and Sploon, double teaming as usual. Welcome in. Sploon, you'll be glad to know that we were actually talking about your artwork earlier in the stream, and we were saying how, well, Yubi in particular was saying that you're one of the best artists that she's ever encountered. So you can give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back. If you want to self promo here in this chat, you can totally do that. Sometimes YouTube is a bit finicky with when it allows links or not, but just know that it's not me. It's entirely YouTube. You you just got home from work and yet you want to come to one of my streams. Like, dang, Cat, you you're a pretty loyal supporter if you have that kind of energy. That's amazing. The Divine Comedy, I've only read all the way through Inferno, but I didn't actually read the Inferno itself. I read a summary of it because, man, Dante's language is just too much for me. I am doing great. Thank you for asking. Uh, as I'm sure, actually, I don't think I told you, Kat. I think I just told some other people in Peggle's Discord. But I'm actually going on vacation on the 3rd of August. I'm not going to say where for the sake of my friend's privacy, but I'm going to meet a friend of mine that I met on YouTube. And then we don't have too much planned, but we are going to go to Six Flags Water Park. And we're also going to we don't really have too much more than that. We're gonna be filming a lot because both of us are YouTubers, so we're gonna want like some special stuff to be on display. So I'll be vlogging, and I'll probably have like separate videos that I'll do like with her that are in line with both of us and our love of psychology. So that's my well-being. How about you all? How's everyone else doing that hasn't gotten a chance yet? That actually would be really cool, Jevil. Well, it's a good thing that you're able to get something in your stomach. I know for me, I'm really thankful for the grapes we have in my house because I haven't had a chance to go shopping yet. So I'm really thankful that we have at least a little bit of fruit in the freezer to make up for my dwindling supply of crackers. Yeah, it's about time you permanently settle, Spoon. I feel like you're kind of like Roadrunner, where you keep zipping back and forth between various things. Yeah, I definitely do think a war between angels and demons would be pretty cool, especially because there's so much we don't know about the before times, and it would be really cool to get some illumination on like why did Lucifer decide to rebel against God when God gave him the beatific vision, so he should have known all along what was going to happen, and he rebelled anyway. So, like, if he knew that God was going to be victorious in the end, then he would also know that he was doomed to fail. So, why did he rebel if he knew that it was a pointless endeavor? Like, if someone told me, like, you know what, Paul, I can predict your future, well, if I was able to believe them, that is. So I guess to be more specific, if a divine figure came to me and said, Paul, you are not going to succeed at this particular endeavor, so don't even try, I think I'd listen to. I don't think angels technically have genders, so I guess in that case you would actually say them instead of him or her. It's just that some angels present themselves as males, probably because males were back in that time period were more accepted as messengers. So I'll have to ask my dad about that. Like how do you address an angel? Cuz angels are what's called non-corporeal beings, which mean that they don't actually have a body. They're just pure spirits. So yeah, man, you guys got me thinking. Yeah, almost everything that comes out of my mouth on that Discord is a joke. The way you can tell what my jokes are is think about something that someone in their right mind would never say. Like if I say, "Oh my gosh, Yubi, you have a tree growing out of your head." It's like, "No, duh. Of course Yubi doesn't have a tree growing out of her head." It's just that it sounds funny to me trying to envision that and like trying to envision Yubi like trying to hold up her head with that big tree and like being an apple head. It sounds funny to me. And I guess everyone's sense of humor is different, so you guys might have just cringed at that, and that's totally okay. What isn't okay is when people say I can't joke around at all, because I think I think it's okay if people say don't joke about certain subject materials. Like if someone says to me, "Paul, don't joke about LGBT stuff on my channel," then I'd be like, "Okay, well, it's your channel, so I'll follow your rules." But if someone says you can't tell any jokes and you got to be totally serious and everything you say has to be 100% literal, then I'll say, you got some maturing to do." So, so Kat, you said you work at McDonald's. Have your coworkers been treating anything less apathetically? And Sploon, as far as you said that you were moving into a new place. So are you like at the end of the rope of staying at your parents' place? And once you get to this new place, like what exactly was the end goal of moving there? Like was it so that you could be closer to work? Was it because you felt like being independent? Like what was the reason why you wanted to move out in the first place is what I'd be curious about. At this point, I really hope I never have to move again. I'm just too much of I guess, I'm the type of person that likes firmly planting my roots. I know that's a figure of speech, but what it basically means is once you settle somewhere, you want to stay in that place for as long as possible. So it was a heck of a time trying to get to the house I'm currently in, and I just hope I can stay here as long as possible. Yes, I did know that, Jubble. Yes, I did. That is very interesting. I actually really love the concept of anagrams and the concept of wordplay. Like, I love taking a random word and saying, like, did you know that desserts is stressed spelled backwards? And I love little plays on words like that. Okay. Oh, graduate studies. I see. Okay, so it's a combination of schooling necessity as well as just having a desire to be independent. Okay, I see. Well, that's good. That's good that you're prioritizing something that'll help in the long term financially. I can't say I have. Oh, sorry. I misread that as church for a moment. Yes, I've heard of Seraphim. Seraphim are the highest order of angels. As for what exactly they do, I'm not really sure. Ophanim, not sure I've heard of that. If you want to go ahead and explain that, that would be great. There are actually so many different varieties of angels, and from the little bit that I recall from a youth group meeting I went to that talked about angels, they are actually really powerful beings. In fact, Michael the archangel and conversely Gabriel and Raphael, the angels that are named in the Bible, they are actually considered the second lowest rank of angels, and yet they're still so powerful that a lot of Catholics will pray the St. Michael prayer. So it's like, dang, they're that low on the rank, and they're still like way more powerful than all the demons put together. That's just insane. Yeah. Wait, you're leaving McDonald's already, Kat? Oh, shoot. That stinks. Is it because you don't like the job, or like what exactly happened that made you not be able to work there anymore? I hope you're able to get a second or another like better job so that you don't like go broke. The thing is that the angels that you're thinking of, Jevil, are not what angels are actually described as in the Bible. They're actually described as looking a lot more like Gleam in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Wheels with many eyes. That definitely seems very interesting description. Ah, yes, I have heard that thrones is one of the types of angels. If I'm remembering correctly, the thrones are specifically there to like praise God in his throne room and like keep up the chanting of like glory to God in the highest. He's amazing. He's great. Obviously, I'm downplaying it, but like they're really shouting and rejoicing. Oh, that's so cool that you're going on a mission trip. Oh my gosh, I would love to go on a mission trip again. As I'm sure I've told you, I am I've been on 8 mission trips in the past, and I've shown you guys quite a lot of the t-shirts that we wore in those trips, and all of them with the exception of one were mind-blowing experiences. I can't ooh, with Amazon Prime. I can't stress enough how much those mission trips changed my life. Like, if it were not for those mission trips, I would probably be a pretty pathetic human being, and you guys would probably have kicked me out of your discords if I had joined, because I was extremely sexist and extremely just, I had so many wrong ideas about everything. I think a lot of angels present themselves looking like people so that the people won't be afraid when they see them. Oh, yeah, that's right. You got to tell me about the other mission trips. Yes, that'd be super cool. I would love to hear about that. Spoon, have you ever been on a mission? Well, for that matter, I'll ask everyone in chat. Have any of you ever been on mission trips? Or if you haven't, like, what have you been on that's similar to a mission trip? Have you ever like done volunteering for the homeless shelters? Have you ever done a conference or a retreat? Like anything along the lines of a major trip that you go on for the sake of either helping the community or helping God. I have been on over 2 dozen conferences and retreats pre-COVID. I've only been on one retreat after COVID happened. Oh, wow. I mean, I mean, I can see there being the possibility that mission trips can be terrible. I'm sorry that you didn't like the work, Spoon. That sounds kind of. Oh, wait, is Adam saying that the mission trip we went on was a crusade, or that the crusades are like a version of mission trips? Because I feel like I don't know. I felt like I was kind of like a crusader on that mission trip because I did give a speech on the stage. Well, I can send you a reminder on Discord if you want, Kat, and then hopefully that'll help you remember a little bit more. Uh, well, the thing is, we don't know what people look like in heaven because it's been said that heaven is like beyond our human capabilities of understanding. So it's possible that people who have seen visions of heaven, they see the halos as a representation of something that they can't comprehend. So it's very possible that it's very possible that when we get to heaven, our ancestors that died before us will look totally different than what we imagine. They could look like wearing white clothes and halos, but that's not something we can definitively say. What we can definitively say, though, is that the Catholic Church believes that we will get our bodies back. They just will be perfected bodies. So, like, I don't know, kind of like how Twilight Princess HD had like a huge texture overhaul, but it was still Twilight Princess. So I guess you could say we will have HD bodies, if that makes any sense. You know, That's one thing that's really interesting about giving speeches for me, Kat, is that I okay, sounds good. I'll remind you tonight. So for me, like the reason why I like giving speeches a lot is because I often have to know what I'm talking about and I'm very confident in what I'm talking about. If I was giving a speech about something that I was forced to do, like if say I was in school and someone said like write a book report on something and I'm like, well, I don't really like the book, so I'll do it because I have to, but not because I want to. Whereas like the just blabbing stuff that I do on Patreon is stuff that I know really well and I'm passionate about it. So when I've given public speeches in the past, for example, before I went on mission trips, yes, heaven is HD Earth. That's a good way of putting it, JP. When I used to, I don't know actually what happens to animals. That's a question I'll have to ask the Lord. What was I saying before? I used to give speeches about the autism spectrum because I'm just like a walking encyclopedia on the subject. And it was easy to give those kinds of speeches because I had an autistic classmate that nearly raped me in school. And so I know a lot from being around him for a lot of my school life. Because, yes, I did go to school for a little bit. Yes, I had to do book reports when I was studying to have certification to be a youth minister. Of course, I gave up on doing that because they wanted me to do administrative work, and I'm more of a teacher than a sit down and plan things type of guy. So I guess I I went in thinking that it would help me be more of a teacher, but I went out realizing no, they want me to have an office job, and that's just not me at all. Um, I think when I specifically am talking about giving speeches on mission trips, because I have given public speeches on other things before, but when I talk about giving speeches on the mission trip and on conferences, it's usually, I guess, testimony would be the better word for it. So, for example, on my 2018 mission trip, I was miraculously healed during Eucharistic adoration. I used to have really bad shoulders and back. I could hardly lift up my arms. Now I can lift them all the way up and I can bend over and all that. And boy, has that really come in handy as a janitor. And I was able to give a testimony about how I was healed and to get other people to believe that Eucharistic miracles are a real thing. So that's what I meant by speeches. So hopefully that makes you guys feel a little less unnerved and having PTSD about book reports or anything like that. So I guess I probably should have prefaced that it was a testimony. And then I also gave a little bit of a testimony when I was chaperoning a conference. It was in 2020 I chaperoned that conference, so right before the pandemic hit. And I was asked to chaperone a module that was all about mental health. And I was an idiot, and I thought that the autism spectrum and the mental health spectrum were the same thing, even though they aren't. So if someone is autistic, that's considered neurological, whereas mental health is something more like bipolar or schizophrenia or depression, that kind of stuff. It's really hard to explain, but basically I said, I know so much about autism. So if you want me to like give a speech to these teenagers, then I totally can. And surprisingly, the keynote speaker was like, "Yeah, Paul, I'll give you 3 minutes at the end of the module." So I did, and I think there were 50 teenagers, and there were like 1,500 altogether. So a relatively big amount for how many there were at the whole conference. So it wasn't the entire conference that I spoke to. It was just because the conference had like multiple different modules of varying topics, and I just talked at the one that I thought was all about autism when it really wasn't. So I learned the hard way about the difference between neurological and mental health. Oh, you think that's a big crowd, Sploon? When I went to NCYC, which stands for National Catholic Youth Conference, there were 23,000 people. Actually, I think there was 25,000 my first time that I went there, and then 23,000 the next year. And then if you think that's a big crowd, when I went on March for Life, there were 500,000 people there. So I don't normally like crowds, but when I was younger, I seemed to be more okay with them. I think for me, like, I don't like crowds for the sake of crowds, but if I have to be in a big crowd for the sake of making a difference, then I'm more okay with it. Because you know how Jesus always talks about like taking up your cross and following him by like being willing to suffer? I guess like I'm willing to suffer the discomfort of the crowd if it means doing God's will. So let me catch up on what you were saying here, Jevil. I think I missed some of it. Oh, cool. Glad to hear you got baptized. Hope you'll eventually give church a try again. Yes, autism can lead to mental health problems, but it is not considered mental health. Like, if you go to like a mental health resource, autism will not be listed in that category. You know, Spoon, what do you consider your audience when you stream? Do you consider that a crowd? Also, what about you, Kat? If you're still here, what do you think about crowds? Do they unnerve you, or do you find yourself more like, I'm getting used to it? I think for me, the main reason why I don't like crowds is I don't like, well, for one, I don't like all the noise and the commotion. I also like being able to I also like being able to focus on what everyone is saying. So if like everyone is talking about different things at once, then it's just a lot of cacophony. And I just want to be able to, like, for in here, you've got like the three of you talking. I can say like, okay, Kat, you're saying this, cool. Sploon, you're saying this, cool. Jevil, you're saying this, and I can like keep track of all three of you. Whereas if I was like in a crowd of 50 people, that would be impossible. So that's why I really like these streams having so few people, because then hopefully none of you feel left out. That's a good way of putting it, Spoon. Yeah. I guess when you see someone's face, you can kind of feel like their eyes are staring into your soul. Hopefully, you don't feel like that with me, but um, yeah, I can see why that would probably be potentially nerve wracking. Um, yeah, I know most autistic people don't like saying that they're on the spectrum because there are negative certain negative connotations towards autistic people. Like, I think some people say, oh, autistic people don't understand emotions, and autistic people are too easily literal. And, they focus on the negative without focusing on, like, they often have a lot of creativity and they often, like, remember things really well. And so I think if you want to tell people that you're autistic, a potential way of wording it would be, let me tell you about some of my super cool abilities, like the fact that I can hear the TV when it's only at 2, when most people would need it at like 15. Why did YouTube want to hold that for review? You didn't do anything wrong, Spoon. That was totally YouTube being weird. That's interesting, Kat. What do you find about streaming that makes you comfortable, that is different than talking to people in person? Like, I'm curious what your reasoning is for saying that. Yes, not liking someone because they're autistic is definitely something that I think is just flat out prejudice, but it is possible for an autistic person to be unlikable, if that makes any sense. Like, you can't automatically say, oh, this person has autism. That means I have to automatically say that he or her is cool. And it's like, no, it doesn't. There are unhealthy varieties of every minority. There are unhealthy black people. There are unhealthy white people. There are unhealthy people of everything. So you can't just say because someone fits into a category that they're automatically cool. Yeah. Well, LGBT actually is considered in the realm of mental health because that is based on what's called gender dysphoria. However, from what my research has told me, it's a result of trauma, whereas autism is a neurological disorder that does not have a direct cause. It's not like you become autistic all of a sudden. You become LGBT as a coping mechanism against people that treated you terribly. But autism is something that you can just have it. Your siblings might not have it, and you are able to, how do I word this? Like autism isn't like a virus where you catch it, whereas LGBT is, if that makes any sense. Yeah, that's a good way of wording it, Kat. I think when you put it like that, that is actually kind of cool. I I really like talking to people online because I feel like I have more freedom to say what I want to say. Because when I'm talking to random people online, I know that some people get like easily offended and some people are like really immature. So I feel like I shouldn't be pandering to every single person for their personal problems. So I can be like more okay with just saying what I want. Whereas like when I'm with a friend, I'm going to obviously know that friend's likes and dislikes. And of course, being their friend, I'm going to want to support that person in whatever way is possible. Okay, a challenge. Perfect. I love it. Let's see. Are there LGBT people that come from very loving families? Because I have yet to meet one. That would be very interesting if such a person exists. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I'm pretty sure it's like in the 99% range. Also, I think if there are potentially LGBT people who come from loving families, usually if they come out as a particular thing, it's usually a result of peer pressure. At least that's what I've gathered. I don't really have too many people on that spectrum, but everyone that I have encountered has had really terrible people in their lives. Oh, I see. Yeah. So like when you're at McDonald's, you could say like, "Hey, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get you?" Whereas like you don't have that script when you're talking to people without the job. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like when I was working at Culver's, it was really easy to just get into my usual things that I would say. But I would also realize that some things were not meant to be scripted. So like, I don't know, like there was one time where we had like 20 Girl Scouts come in all at the same time, and I had to like take all of their orders and give them all individual drinks. So like that involved a certain skill set that I was never trained for. I think I did a pretty good job because they seemed pretty happy with me. Interesting. Well, I think your friend would probably be the exception and not the norm. So that would be definitely be something to ask her. Like, did well, I guess that might be potentially rude if you go right out and ask, like, "Hey, were you sexually abused?" No, you don't want to do that. But I don't know. I would be curious if there wasn't like some other underlying condition as well. Like, does she have maybe bipolar? Does she have a history of other mental things? Because from what my sister has told me, she has yet to meet an LGBT person who doesn't have some kind of disorder. So that could also be something to take into consideration. Yeah, talking fast is something that I can't say I've been able to do in quite a while. I usually am very methodical about how I speak. I think I used to talk pretty fast, and now I'm a lot more slow just because now I know a lot more of what's expected. And I want to make sure that I minimize the amount of ums and uhs that I say. Yeah, I think some people just think out loud quite a lot, and that leads to not everyone always filtering out what they say before they say it. So I think people that talk fast are just like thinking as they talk. Also, I know that you guys probably already know this, but because I'm an external processor, I'm going to say it anyway. Everything that I was saying about LGBT people was not me trying to hate on them. It was just me expressing my observations. If I really wanted to hate on them, I would have made a disclaimer. So, no, I don't hate them. If anything, I feel sorry for them. Alrighty. Thanks for coming, JP. Glad you could stop by for as long as you did. Actually, I might have to go soon too because my folks just got back, and if my dad has to work today, he's probably not going to want to be distracted. So, I should probably wrap it up in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So, does anyone have any last words or complaints or uh, things that they want to say? Like, if you guys didn't like this live stream, let me know and I'll try to improve for the next time. Yeah, that's good that you don't go completely by the script, Kat, because I would say like, okay, you really need to have at least some level of customer awareness. I'm that means a lot that you said that, Spoon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kat. I'm glad you could come too. I'm glad you guys liked this a lot because I am my own worst critic on my work. I am constantly belittling myself. So when you guys tell me you like my stuff, it means a lot because I am so self-critical. Probably probably comes from having an apologist for a dad who's all about the truth about everything, but I appreciate it, guys. Jevil, do you have any last things that you wanted to say now that I need to wrap it up? Spoon, sometime when you get back on Discord, I would appreciate it if you could explain what you mean by my approaches to challenges, or were you just specifically talking about in streaming? Oh, that's funny, Kat. Yeah, I know some people that do that where they'll say things like how are you, but then they'll like be looking away and already gotcha. Okay, well that's cool. All right, well guys, I'm sorry. I really didn't want to end this early, but I probably should for the sake of my dad if he has to work. So thank you all for coming. I will try my best to stream more relatively frequently, but again, can't make any promises yet. But I did find out recently that the basement's internet is much better than I anticipated. So I should be able to do it more often if I put my mind to it. So don't expect me to be perfect, but I will try a little bit harder than I have been. So thanks again, Kat and Spoon and Jevil and Yubi. I'm sorry, Yubi, but I'm about to end it. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.